Where are you? Why aren't you answering me? The words blinked across Celia's phone, left open beside the celery on the cutting board. I hadn't meant to see them. I was just reaching for the salt when her screen lit up again. I don't see you anymore. Are you avoiding me? Answer me. They were from Elliot, my son. He was in the living room 10 steps away, arguing about a football call with his father. I looked up. Celia hadn't noticed yet. Her hands moved robotically knife-board slice stack until the next vibration made her flinch. She glanced at the phone, saw that I'd seen. Her whole body jerked. She grabbed it too quickly to play casual. Spam, she murmured. Just junk. Her smile barely formed. I didn't challenge her. I turned back to the dough, pressed my knuckles into it. Rolled, folded, rolled again. The kitchen filled with warm smells of cinnamon and roasted duck, but the cold had crept into my hands. You doing okay with the stuffing, I asked. Celia nodded. Almost done, Patricia. You can call me Mom, I offered gently. She looked up and for half a breath I thought I saw something a flicker behind the eyes. Not annoyance, not hesitation. Fear. Of course. Mom. The word sounded borrowed. She turned back to the celery. Elliot wandered into the kitchen a few minutes later, beer in hand, all smiles. How are my favorite ladies doing? I felt Celia stiffen. The air changed like a draft through a closed window. We're great, I said too quickly. She's been a tremendous help. He smiled wide and stepped behind her, slipping one arm around her waist. His fingers pressed deep into her hip. I saw it. So did she. She didn't lean into him. She didn't smile. He kissed her cheek. Your dad needs another beer. I lied. Elliot didn't move. Can't Celia get it? I need her with the turkey. My tone came out sharper than I'd planned. He blinked, kissed the top of her head again, and finally left. Only when he disappeared did Celia's shoulders drop. She let out a long, thin breath. I'm fine, she said before I could ask. Just tired. Work's been crazy. She resumed chopping. Faster now. Celia arranged the cranberry goat cheese tartlets like someone laying tiles, not food. Her hands were steady, but her eyes stayed far away. Looks lovely, I said, passing her a sprig of basil for garnish. She smiled, but it didn't reach anything. Elliot appeared again, arms open like a stage actor. He wrapped himself around her from behind chin, resting on her shoulder. Isn't she amazing? He said to no one in particular. She makes everything look like a magazine cover. Celia didn't answer. She didn't melt into him, didn't tilt her head or laugh. She just stayed still until he let go. Let's get these out there, I said, taking the tray. Guests are starving. He took it from me instead. I'll handle it. You two stay back here. Bond. I watched him go. Celia stood frozen for a moment, then turned to refill the olive dish. Dinner began with Elliot holding court, at the head of the table carving the duck like a pro. Telling childhood stories, always the funny ones that made him look charming, not the ones that showed his sharp edges. He interrupted Celia twice. Once, when she tried to explain how they found the caterer for the engagement party. She's mixing it up, Elliot said, cutting her off with a grin. It wasn't in Portland, babe. It was in Providence. Celia blinked. Right. Providence. Later, when Nancy asked about the wedding venue, Celia started to speak, but Elliot jumped in. She wanted a beach wedding, can you believe it? He said, laughing. I told her no way. You don't bring the firm's partners to a sand pit. So we're doing a formal estate. Very elegant. Celia smiled, but her hand tightened around her wine glass. Haven't you been drinking more lately? Elliot asked, reaching to refill her glass. Tell them, honey. You said the stress was getting to you. She nodded. Quietly. After dinner, as I gathered plates, I leaned in and touched her arm. Are you happy? Dear. Her lips moved before her eyes did. Of course. but the edges of her voice crumbled like dry leaves. The kitchen had gone quiet again. Celia stepped out to bring in the dessert tray, and I stayed behind rinsing plates. That's when her phone lit up once more. 3 messages in a row. I didn't mean to read them. I didn't move, didn't lean in. But the screen faced me. Don't ignore me. I don't like this tone. Come find me now. The words stung more than they should have. Not because they were meant for me, but because I remembered that cadence. Sharp, demanding, familiar. I poured myself a glass of wine. A deep, steady pour. My hands didn't shake. Not this time. Celia re-entered, balancing ramekins of custard on a silver tray. She looked smaller than when she'd arrived. She smiled when she saw me, but then she dropped a fork. Bent too fast to retrieve it. Her hand trembled as she placed it back. Elliot returned moments later, full of holiday charm, announcing that someone outside had double parked. Celia jumped before she turned to him. She smiled. I noticed the sequence flinch, then smile. I didn't say anything. Later, after the guests had left and Tom was in the den with the TV low, I found Celia in the kitchen alone again. She was wiping down the counter for the 3rd time. I reached for a towel, folding it beside hers. How long has he been like this? I asked gently. She didn't look up. Her hand stopped mid-circle. What do you mean? Those messages earlier, I said softly. The ones from Elliot. She stood still, then forced a laugh. Oh, he just gets anxious sometimes. It's a lot, the wedding work. He just needs to feel connected. That's not connection, Celia. Her lips pressed together. It's just how he is when he's stressed. He's under a lot of pressure right now. He makes you flinch. She looked at me, then eyes wide. Cornered. Childlike. It's not what you think. I don't need to think. I saw. She turned back to the counter, pressing her palm flat against it. He loves me, she whispered. I nodded slowly, watching her hand go still on the granite. After dessert, I stacked the plates and turned to Celia. Help me with the dishes. Elliot stood up. I can help too. No, I said a little too quickly, then softer. Just us girls. He paused, glanced at her, then sat back down. Celia followed me into the kitchen, her movements quiet, careful. I turned on the faucet, let the steam rise, and began scrubbing. Celia picked up a towel and dried the first plate in silence. The second one, too. By the third, I said, Do you need help getting out? The plate slipped in her hands, clinking against the sink before she caught it. She didn't look at me. Just set it down and gripped the edge of the counter. He checks my location, she whispered. Every day, every hour. The faucet hissed between us. My emails, my texts. He has every password. I didn't interrupt. He makes me change if I wear something he doesn't like. Said my coworkers stare too much. She paused, swiping at the water on her wrist. So I stopped wearing skirts. I handed her another plate. I stopped seeing my friends. He said they were bad influences. I believed him. Her voice was steady, detached, like she was reading someone else's story. My parents texted last month. I didn't reply. He said they didn't respect our boundaries. The towel in her hand twisted until it was a rope. I was up for a director role. I turned it down. He said we'd start trying for a baby and I'd be too tired for long hours. Steam clung to the window pane above the sink. He says I'm lucky he still wants me, that no one else would. She didn't cry. Neither did I. We just stood there, 2 women in a sink full of warm water, letting the silence carry what we didn't say. Then I reached over and turned off the tap. Okay, I said, drying my hands. We're going to take this one step at a time. Celia looked at me, unsure. I folded the towel slowly, firmly. You're not alone, I said. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone before I could overthink it. Go to the bathroom, I said quietly. Lock the door. Call someone who still knows your name. Celia stared at the phone like it might bite her. He checks my call logs, she whispered. Not mine, I said. Not tonight. She hesitated for one breath, just one, then took it from my hand and hurried down the hall. I listened to the click of the lock, then positioned myself by the doorway like I was waiting for more plates. Elliot's laughter drifted in from the living room. Football commentary. Ice clinking in glasses. Normal sounds that now felt like camouflage. 5 minutes stretched longer than they should have. I folded a towel, unfolded it, counted my breaths. Then the bathroom door opened. Celia stepped out, eyes red, but steady. She said yes, she murmured. Jessica's coming. She wants us to meet somewhere public. Relief hit me so fast my knees weakened. I smiled anyway. Perfect, I said. Let's forget the whipped cream. I walked back into the living room with practiced ease. I can't believe I forgot whipped cream, I announced. Celia and I are going to run to the store real quick. Elliot looked up immediately. I'll go. No, I said too fast again. I corrected my tone. We need girl time. Wedding talk. You stay with your father. His eyes narrowed, flicking to Celia. You okay with that? The fact that he asked her permission to leave the house tightened something in my chest. Of course, she said, voice even. Too even. He studied her for a long second, then leaned back into the couch. Don't take long. We won't, I said. Celia grabbed her coat with shaking hands. I handed her gloves she hadn't brought, like this was any other errand, any other holiday evening. As we stepped outside, the cold air rushed in sharp and clean. I locked the door behind us and didn't look back already, guiding her toward the car, already calculating the drive, already thinking about the parking lot where everything would change. The grocery store parking lot was half empty. A few cars blinked with frost. The silence made it feel like we were trespassing in a world still asleep. Then headlights cut through the dark. A small sedan pulled in fast, too fast. The engine was still running when the door flung open. Celia didn't wait. She grabbed the door handle, pushed it open, and ran. I didn't try to stop her. Jessica was out of the car before Celia reached her. They collided like magnets, arms around shoulders, bags, forgotten voices, tangled in relief and tears. Oh my God, Jessica said. Rach. Oh my God. I stepped out slowly, giving them space. Then I walked over and held out my hand. Maristella, I said. Jessica nodded, eyes sharp behind her tears. Jessica? She's safe now, I said. But it's going to be messy. Jessica nodded. I've got her. We'll figure it out. I slipped her a folded piece of paper with my number. If you need a lawyer, a spare bed, someone who's done this before, call me. Day or night. She took it and tucked it into her coat without looking. That was enough. Celia turned to me then. Her face was blotchy and red, but her jaw was set. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't think anyone would help. I stepped forward and held her shoulders gently. You didn't need to know how I said. You just needed to show up. She hugged me again, tighter this time. Then she stepped back and climbed into Jessica's car. I watched the taillights disappear before I turned back toward the store. Inside, I bought a small can of whipped cream, just to keep the lie clean. Back at the car, I sat for a moment before starting the engine. The cold crept in through the windows, but I didn't feel it. What I felt was the quiet, deep, still, and heavy. The kind of quiet that comes when a door finally opens and someone walks through it. I stepped inside with the bag of whipped cream snow still clinging to my coat sleeves. Elliot was already standing by the door. Where's Celia? I kept my tone steady. She started feeling sick in the store. Jessica happened to be nearby and offered to take her home. He didn't blink. She didn't tell me. She didn't want to ruin the holiday, I said. You know how thoughtful she is. He stared at me, eyes hard. Then he pulled out his phone and started calling. The first call went to voicemail. So did the second. I could hear his breathing shift. Tom appeared in the doorway, wiping his hands on a dish towel. Son, let her rest. It's probably just a stomach bug. She's not answering, Elliot snapped. Tom's tone didn't change. Then give her space. But Elliot didn't sit down. He started pacing, looping the living room like something trapped. Every few minutes he'd redial. Always voicemail. Dinner dishes sat forgotten in the sink. The fire in the hearth had burned down low. Still, he paced. Still, he called. At 9 p.m., he grabbed his coat. I'm going to her place. I didn't stop him. Neither did Tom. Midnight came before the front door opened again. She's not there, he said. His face was pale, his jaw tight. Her car's in the lot. Lights are off. She's not answering. I knocked. I waited. I nodded but said nothing. She's not there, he repeated. She must be resting, Tom said gently from his chair. She'll call in the morning. Elliot didn't respond. He dropped his keys on the table and collapsed into the couch, head in his hands. I sat in the armchair across from him, the one I'd rocked him in when he was a baby. I looked at my son, grown now, storming, furious, confused, and said nothing, because the truth wouldn't comfort him. And the silence for now was the only protection Celia had left. Elliot stood up so fast the chair scraped loudly against the floor. Give me Jessica's number. I didn't move. Mom, he said, voice sharp now. I know you have it. I saw you talking to her. Give it to me. Tom rose from his seat. Not hurried, not angry, just firm. Lower your voice. Elliot turned on him. This doesn't concern you. It concerns this house, Tom said, and the way you're speaking to your mother. Silence fell thick and brittle. I set my hands on the armrests of my chair and stood. She was scared, Elliot, I said. She asked permission to pour wine at dinner. His face flushed red. That's not fear. That's consideration. She flinched when you walked into the room. He laughed once sharp and humorless. You filled her head with lies. No, I said. I reminded her what real love looks like. He stared at me like I'd betrayed him. Maybe I had. I told him then. Not everything, but enough. About the man before Tom. About the way control disguises itself as concern. About how it starts with small rules and ends with a life shrunk down to permission. My voice didn't shake. I kept it level even when his did not. You are not the man I raised, I said. His mouth fell open. You don't mean that. I do. She'll come back, he said, grasping at certainty. She always does. You'll see. I met his eyes. The boy I once knew wasn't there. I hope she doesn't. The words landed between us like glass. Elliot grabbed his coat. When she realizes what you've done, she'll hate you. He didn't wait for an answer. The door slammed so hard the windows rattled. Tom came to stand beside me. I didn't lean into him. I stood on my own, listening to the echo of footsteps fade into the night, knowing the quiet that followed wouldn't last. The phone rang just after sunrise. I answered before the second ring. It's me, Rachel whispered. He sent hundreds of texts, blocked numbers, fake emails. He came to Jessica's at 3 a.m. and started banging on the door. I closed my eyes. Are you both safe? We called the police. They warned him, but didn't arrest him. Today, I said we get you a restraining order. By noon, we were at a legal clinic. Jessica sat beside her the entire time, arms crossed, eyes sharp. I brought snacks tissues, a spare phone. Rachel didn't cry once. Over the next 2 weeks, things moved fast. Jessica helped her pack what she could. Tom drove the rental van. I walked through the old apartment like I was hunting ghosts, and in every drawer, every closet, I saw the traces of permission. Things unlived, things unchosen. Rachel signed a lease for a small duplex near the river. Light poured in through the windows. She hung up her own curtains. Then she called her old boss. 2 days later, she was back behind her desk, listed again as director of marketing. She said the role never got filled. Rachel told me, her voice steady. They'd been waiting for me. I came over one evening after work with a pie and 2 forks. She met me at the door in sneakers and no makeup. God, she said, laughing. I forgot how good it feels to wear shoes that actually fit. We ate at the kitchen counter. Her phone buzzed once. She ignored it. He had violated the restraining order already, but her lawyer was handling it. She didn't flinch when she told me that. When I left, I stood outside her window for a moment and watched. Rachel sat on her couch with a blanket, a notebook, and a pencil. Nothing loud, nothing glamorous, but the light on her face belonged to her again, and for the first time in weeks I didn't worry. I just got in my car and drove home. The house is quieter this year. No slammed doors, no pacing footsteps. Just the crackle of the fireplace and the clink of forks against mismatched plates. Tom refills everyone's glasses. Jessica brings a tray of roasted squash. Rachel slices the pie I made that morning. She laughs at one of Tom's terrible jokes louder than she used to. Her hair's a little longer now, her posture taller. There's this guy in my yoga class, she says, eyes twinkling. He's patient. He asks before touching my hand. I'm learning to trust again. Mostly myself. That's the hardest part. I nod slowly. It was for me, too. Outside, snow gathers on the porch rail. The curtains are open this year. I check my phone once. One message sits at the top. From Elliot. You destroyed everything. I stare at it for a second, then press delete. No reply. No wait. Rachel sees my hand lower the phone. She reaches over and gently squeezes it. You chose me, she says quietly, even though it meant losing him. The fire shifts in the hearth, casting shadows on the living room wall. I look at her, then at Tom, then at Jessica. Her arm draped across the back of Rachel's chair, like she's always belonged here. I didn't choose between you and Elliot, I say. I chose what was right. Rachel nods, her eyes misty but clear. We don't say more. We don't need to. Later, when the table is cleared and the pie reduced to crumbs, I tuck a soft blanket around Rachel's shoulders. She doesn't flinch at the touch. Her body doesn't tense. Tom offers everyone cocoa, and the 3 of them pile onto the couch like a lopsided family photo. I sit in my chair by the window and listen to them talk over one another. The lights twinkle on the tree. Jessica's laugh fills the space Elliot used to take up with tension. And the house, this old, stubborn house, doesn't feel broken. It feels like it's learning to breathe again.